Overcharged versus Short-Range Blaster by Commander Magenta Warrior. Now, as usual, we have our regular arguments in the Ashling Duval Discord, but this one is interesting because it actually prompted a direct message outside of the server, and in the words of the individual who proposed it, a lively debate about engineering. Now, it got me spreadsheeting, so I thought I'd make a video about it. Let's talk about these particular modifications for multicannons. Now, in general, we and the Waifu Squadron advocate for Short-Range Blaster as your multicannon mod. Why? 75% damage, and all it really costs you is your fall-off range. The reason we advocate for this over Overcharged is because it gives you the highest damage, and it doesn't cost you distributor draw. It does generate some more heat, but the heat generated is so low, it's a fine trade-off. It also doesn't gimp your clip size a bit, but you could offset that somewhat with autoloader if you wanted to. Most of our ships are built to engage within 2k meters, so all the damage and ranges line up perfectly. Anyway, the debate comes up because the SRB mod makes it so you do 0 damage outside of optimal range of 2k. The OC mod makes it so you do slightly less damage within optimal range, but you can still do damage outside of optimal range, which is a fair consideration. And, while I typically try to stay within optimal range, being outside optimal range doesn't mean you have to stop firing. This person proposed a hypothetical in which we compare the damage of 2 ships approaching a quarry from 4k at 500 meters per second. I find this to be reasonable. The OC ship fires immediately, while the SRB ship has to close range before they can fire. After 4 seconds, the SRB can begin firing. How long does it take for the SRB damage to catch up? For the loadouts the person used, it took about 40 seconds. Now let's first look at the oversights this individual made. 1. They did not factor fall-off damage. They assumed every shot did 100% of its optimal damage. So that 40 seconds has to go down. You're not dealing the full damage outside of 2k. Number 2, they assumed 100% accuracy. Now this is really unrealistic. Shoot at a python 3k away while it's moving. Count the shots you actually land. If you're using fixed weaponry, maybe, if you're good at it. But if you're using gimbaled or turreted, forget about it. And I know, like, 90% of the people in this game are using gimbaled and turreted. So this video really is for you. So that 40 seconds, again, has to go down. Now I've calculated exactly how much time you have to make up the damage at optimal range, which means that these numbers are the best case scenario for overcharged multicannons. And you'll see for all guns, it's about 34 seconds. So for every second of 100% accurate fire at really close to but outside optimal range, you'll need to spend about 34 seconds in optimal range with SRBs to make up for it. Experimentals may increase or decrease these a bit. Quick example, normally the catch-up time for gimbaled multicannons is a little less than 34 seconds. Let's oversize these guys, calculate the new differences. Oversized will add about 0.5 DPS to both, 0.2 DPS difference, meaning you'll need to spend some extra time to make up that DPS difference. And it comes out to increasing the catch-up time by 0.05 seconds. It's not much, but it is for 1 second, and it could add up. Anyway, I wanted to go a bit further than that, so I decided to make another chart. Here we can put in some average distance, average time, estimated accuracy, see how long we have to spend in optimal range with our SRBs to make up. You can play with the numbers a little bit. So the way to read this is pretty simple. 2,500 meters, 10 seconds, 20% accuracy. I think 20% accuracy is really generous, certainly in the way of gimbaled and turreted weaponry. For fixed, obviously, it's up to you. You can put. I'm so good at fixed weapons. I land all my shots. So those are your numbers. But certainly, as far as gimbaled weaponry go at these distances, this is again really generous. And if we extend the distance, right? Let's say we go out to 3,600. We go out to 3,600. Well, we're out there. We're gonna be out there a little bit longer. Let's say we spend 25 seconds out there at this accuracy, which is now exceedingly generous. We're gonna spend. We only need. Let's look at the gimbal. We only need 34 seconds to make up that difference once we get back into optimal range. The link to this page, the link to this sheet is going to be in the description. So feel free to play with these numbers. You'll have to download it and put your own numbers in, but again, I encourage you to do so. It's the tool that I kind of made for everybody. Now, I believe I am justified in using this approximation to get a feel for it because one, damage fall off is linear, which means that averages would arithmetically add up. Two, typically you'll always be approaching or leaving the enemy, meaning that we don't have much time at a particular range, which would weight damage at a particular range. If we did weight any range, it would be the maximum range. Typically, you go out to a maximum range, you slow down, and then you turn around. So all of our numbers here should be overestimates. You will be spending less time than what's listed here to make up the damage. So what does this all come out to? Well, it's up to you really. This is just a tool. But the long and short of it is, if you spend more time in combat than the guesstimate, the SRBs will be better. If you spend less time in optimal range than this guesstimate, then the OCs will be better. But again, typically we do try to spend as much time as possible in optimal range. But that's pretty much it from me here, I guess, on this multi-cannon debate. That said, if you find yourself fighting at these ranges greater than 2K for longer and longer times, you might be better served by strapping a beam laser G1, G2 long range, oversized, or even a railgun, which has more damage and always does full damage to hull. These weapons are hit scan, so they don't miss as long as your mouse is over the target. The MC has a shot speed of 1,600 meters per second, so shooting at something is going to take 1.5 seconds to hit, if you even hit it. I think it's a more reliable option if you're looking to do damage at those ranges in particular. That's about it for me, though. Thanks for watching.